Hello everyone, this is the first video in English since I'm back from vacation, and I'm glad I'm back and I'm glad I can make this video because, by the way, this video is going to be very important, maybe my most important message video ever. And it was inspired to me by someone I spoke to yesterday. And her story, and asking me again a question that I get so many times, made me think that I should make a whole video about this, even though I spoke about what I'm going to speak about before. Never the way I'm intending to speak about it today. So if you are watching this video, I'll suggest that you watch it all the way to the end to understand fully what I'm talking about. Because if not, well, you're not even going to get the point. So let's get into it. And before you ask me in your comments what's wrong with your voice, it's because I have a cold. So that's why my voice sounds this way. All right? So I wanted to make this video because yesterday I spoke to a beautiful lady. And when I say beautiful, I mean her personality, because I don't even know what she looks like. But a beautiful lady in personality who is still a Jehovah's Witness, who is awake. And who, by the way, told me something I did not even expect it ever. She told me that she's part of a 100 people community, not in the English language, but apparently in the French and the Spanish, both languages, of awake Jehovah's Witnesses who are watching my videos. And she told me the best compliment you could hear if you have any type of channel, any type of anything, helping a community. She told me, I don't know if you have any idea how your videos are helping us. And frankly, to this day, I don't really have an idea. I'm starting now maybe to get an idea. But until now, really, I did not realize that. So I'm not saying this to boast. I'm saying this to say that at least, I know that I'm not wasting my time. I didn't think I was, but now I'm sure I'm not. I'm not wasting my time, the hours that I spend putting those videos out there. So that's great. And the question that she had, it's a question that comes up a lot. And I have a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses contacting me. And they are not ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, as I mentioned before. They are actual Jehovah's Witnesses, awake Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, the ones that are not awake, they would not contact me anyway. So they are awake, but yes, they still are Jehovah's Witnesses. So I thought that I would go in depth in answering this question, so you'll get the point, and hopefully this video will give you enough of an insight to feel better about yourself and about how that Jehovah's Witness that you want to wake up will react or not. So that question that comes up over and over is, how can I wake up my husband? How can I wake up my wife? How can I wake up whoever they need to wake up? And the short answer to this question is, you don't. There is nothing you can do to wake someone else up. You can help, but you can't wake them up. So if they do not wake up, do not feel bad. So let me try to explain to you something that's going to help you, I'm sure, greatly to understand what I'm talking about. So we can say that there are two kinds of Jehovah's Witnesses. The ones who are born in the religion, born from parents, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the ones who become Jehovah's Witnesses as an adult. But even in the first group, the ones who are born as Jehovah's Witnesses, it is also divided in two kind of groups as well. You have the child that was born and raised with or from Jehovah's Witnesses parents and who eventually get baptized and becomes one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But you also have those fewer, but they do exist because I know myself a few of them. You have those children that were born from Jehovah's Witnesses parents, but who decided that they will never become a Jehovah's Witness. Why is this the case? Well, it's the case because just like we are not all born good at the same thing, some people are good at math, for example. Some people are gifted with music. Some people are gifted with other things. Those are things that not all people are gifted with. Some are and some aren't. Well, it's the same thing with the gift or the ability of critical thinking. Some people are born with more of it than others. It doesn't mean that they are more stupid. It just means that not everybody has the same type of critical thinking abilities. That's all. That's all it means. But it's a fact. So those children who happen to be born, even though they were born in a cult from indoctrinated parents, they are going to have somehow some type of critical thinking ability that's going to prevent them to fully believe what they were taught enough so that when they are old enough and they should make the decision to get baptized, somehow they decide not to. So that's for the first group, the ones that are born Jehovah's Witnesses, from Jehovah's Witnesses parents. And then you have the other group, the ones that become Jehovah's Witnesses adults. And for my own example and my family examples and the examples of most Jehovah's Witnesses I spoke with who became Jehovah's Witnesses as adults, the reason why they became Jehovah's Witnesses is because at that point in their lives, there was something that made them weak. It doesn't mean that they were weak all the time, but they had a weakness or they had a weak link, so to speak, at that moment in their lives. And then you have that indoctrinated member of that cult that came in contact with them, and they were the perfect prey. And they became Jehovah's Witnesses. But in all these three cases, okay, the ones that were born Jehovah's Witnesses and did become full-blown Jehovah's Witnesses themselves, the ones that were born from Jehovah's Witnesses parents but who never became Jehovah's Witnesses themselves, and the ones that were not Jehovah's Witnesses to start with but who became Jehovah's Witnesses as adults. In those three different cases, what happened? Did someone make them to be the way they are? No. Nobody did. They did it themselves. They were influenced in one way or another. Yes. They were helped. Yes. But they were not made to make the decision that they did. The only time that someone could say, I had no choice, I had to do this, it's if someone asks you to do something with a gun on your head. But if not, even though you were programmed, indoctrinated, you name it, you still did it yourself. Because if there was something in you, in your brain, that said, no, I don't want to do this, well, you would not have done it. Why am I explaining you this? Because it's the same thing going out as it is going in. Some people like videos from channels like this one, or your own spouse, your own parents, your own children. They can help you to be convinced that you are in a cult, but they can't make you believe that you are in a cult. But then you have this wife or this husband or this parent, who is desperate to wake up their family members. And they're asking me, what can I do? What can I do to wake them up? And that's why I'm telling them, there is nothing you can do. It has to come from them first. You can help, but you can't do. Helping and doing are two very different things. Okay? You can help them once the spark happens in their brain. Once something tells them, oh, by the way, I could use my brain and start thinking for myself, then that's a good beginning. You could start helping them. But as long as this does not happen, there is nothing you can do. And that is why I said at the beginning of this video, to the question, what can I do to wake someone up? Nothing. Nothing you can do. You can only help once they started the job themselves. But then you get the next question. You get the next problem. What happens when you have, like in her case, her husband being fully indoctrinated and her being fully awake and losing her mind because of the situation? Knowing that her husband actually believes that she's both crazy and demonized. That's what her husband thinks of her right now. He thinks she's crazy and that she's got Satan on her. So it makes her feel very bad, and she cannot conceive the fact that, she can live forever this way. And that's why she's so desperate in waking up her husband, which is impossible until he decides to. So at the end of the day, as I told her, you have two choices. Either you manage to find a way to live your life this way, or you manage to find a way to get out of there. So I asked her the question not to influence her in any way, because that's not my business, just to know, because she was asking for help. I asked her, why are you still with your husband since you are so troubled right now? And she said, well, because I love him. And that's a very, very good argument. If you love your husband, yeah, obviously, you want to try to save the marriage. But the one thing that I know as a coach is that loving someone is not always enough for everything. It's good, but it's not enough. Here is an example. How many times do I speak to women in my other side of my life, my job, not my activism, women who are emotionally to physically abused. And I ask them, why are you still with this guy? And you know what they answer many, many times? Because I love him. So, here's the proof in the pudding. Loving someone does not mean always that you should be staying with that person. Sometimes loving that person could be the beginning of your destruction. And I'm not talking about Armageddon destruction, right? So loving someone is not always enough. And this lady was very, very intelligent, and she understood that. And she knew that eventually, if she could not wake her husband up, and being as emotionally disturbed as she is right now, she's intelligent enough to know that she can go on and on like this. So she already did consider some different outcome to our marriage. Because at the end of the day, you need to take care of yourself first. It's great to love someone. It's great to love your spouse. It's better to do so if you are married anyhow, right? But if that love is no longer enough to have a happy marriage, because you would think that that loving your spouse is enough, but it's not always. This is the specific case that it's not always enough. So if love is no longer enough to keep your sanity, to keep healthy emotionally and physically, well, you need to consider an exit to that dilemma. But before you do, yes, you need to take your time. You need to take all the time you need. You need to try. And the best way to try to help someone wake up is to ask them questions. And I have a whole video that talks about that only. What type of questions you could ask to a Jehovah's Witness to try to spark interest, to spark curiosity in their brain. But after a while, if it's not working, and you are losing your health, your emotional health, your physical health, and everything in between in the process, then you need to think about yourself. That's why cults are so dangerous. They are not like just any lousy religion where you see those couples, you may have one that's in one religion and the other one is not. I personally know couples just like that, work just fine. Why? Because the religion is nothing, really. It's like this in their life. But when you are a Jehovah's Witness, that's your life. Your life is being a Jehovah's Witness, and that comes first. There is that big religion, and you are in it. So when one of the two partners of a marriage is in that Jehovah's Witnesses religion and the other one isn't anymore, there's gotta be some conflict. There's gotta be. It is rare. Doesn't mean it does not exist. I've known of one couple. The husband was completely inactive for years and the wife was active, and they were it was working great for them. But this is not usual. And also, he was inactive. It doesn't mean he was awake, he was inactive. But in the case of being completely awake and the other spouse completely indoctrinated, that could be a huge problem down the road. So that's when the spouse that is awake needs to make a decision. Do I want to live the rest of my life this way if my spouse never, ever, ever wakes up? Or do I want to do something? It will depend on you and you only, the choice that you are making. At the end of the day, we are responsible for our choices. So whatever choice you make at the end of the day is going to be on you, is going to be your responsibility. So anyhow, I hope this video helped you understand why you cannot really wake someone up as long as they do not want to, and what you should consider doing if the person never wakes up. Whatever you decide to do, it's going to affect your life in one way or another. In life, our choices affect our lives. But on a positive note, if you've never thought about this psychology trick, life is like a big game. That's nothing more, really. Life is a big game. And as in any game, sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. And when we win, it's great. And when we lose, we have two choices. we could be very depressed about it and just, end up dead or something. Who knows? Or you could take advantage of the lesson that you've learned in losing that game. So there's always a way to look at the bright side of life and think of it this way. Every challenge that happened in your life, they help you grow. For example, if you look at yourself and you think you are the same person as you were 10 years ago, well, it means that you probably missed out on a lot of great lessons that you could have learned and grow from. But if you are different, if you're a different person from 10 years ago, well, it means that you've done a good job. You went through challenges and you learned from it. And that's the only way to go. So, I'm going to stop talking now. I hope my voice was not too disturbing in this video, but that's what it is right now. And I have to do videos while they are fresh in my head. I do not work on any type of script. I have my idea in my head. I have to do it now because tomorrow I may not have the same energy to do it. So that's why I had to do it now, even with my awful cold voice. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed it. Like the video, share it, comment, and I'll see you as always on my next video. Bye bye now.